Please, someone help me. My baby, he's not breathing. The scream tore through the cold, rain-drenched night on Michigan Avenue. Rain pounded the pavement as if the whole city of Chicago was crying with the woman kneeling on the sidewalk, trembling arms wrapped around the limp body of a small child. Tasha Williams couldn't remember how far she had run. Her feet were bloodied, shoes lost along the way. In her arms, Jalen, her 3-year-old son, was turning blue, his raspy wheezes now gone. Only the rain remained, and the frantic pounding of her heart. Will one act of kindness change their lives forever? Stay tuned to BUP Stories to find out. A sleek black limo pulled up in front of Label Duaca, city's most exclusive restaurant. Well-dressed men exited with laughter and handshakes, their conversations loud and detached. None noticed the woman collapsed by the curb, soaked to the bone, clutching a lifeless child, except one. Malik Jordan, CEO of Jordan MedTech, paused as he stepped out, loosening his tie. His stride slowed as the echo of that desperate scream reached him. He almost kept walking, but then his eyes locked with hers. Desperate, shattered, and hauntingly familiar. Call 911, she screamed to a man nearby. He shook his head, muttered something about another street act, and walked away. Malik stepped forward. What happened? He's not breathing, my son. He just stopped. Without hesitation, he knelt down and checked the child's pulse. Weak, faint, the boy needed oxygen fast. I've got a car, he said. Come with me. Inside the limo, Malik ordered the driver, get to Northwestern Memorial now. Tell them to prep the ER. He gently removed his scarf and wiped the child's face. Tasha eyed him wearily. Why are you doing this? Because no one else did. Malik stepped into the cold rain, leaving behind a trembling mother who no longer felt alone. That moment on a stormy night with a child barely breathing and one man choosing to help when others turned away leaves us with a powerful question. What would you have done? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment that made you lose faith or reminded you that kindness still exists? And what happens next? Will love bloom amidst the chaos? Find out on BUP Stories. And if you know a place, a street, or a community where stories like this are happening every day, drop the name or address below. We want to tell those stories, too. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in our journey of hope and humanity. And if this story moved you, please share it. You never know who might need a reason to believe in people again. The hospital gleamed like a fortress against the storm. Medical staff rushed out as the car pulled up, taking Jalen inside on a stretcher, leaving Tasha standing dazed in the entryway, soaked and shaking. Malik handed her a cup of hot tea. You should sit down. Thank you, she whispered, avoiding his gaze. I don't even know your name. Malik, he said. Malik Jordan. Tasha's eyes widened. The name rang a bell, one of the most influential African Americans in tech, the man behind early cancer detection software. She gave a weak smile. Guess I owe you my son's life. He didn't respond. In his eyes was a flicker of something deep and unspoken, like a man who had once stood in that same rain holding someone he couldn't save. An hour later, the doctor approached. He's stable. Severe pneumonia, but he's going to be okay. Tasha collapsed into a chair, the weight of fear lifting all at once. Malik placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. No words, just one human being comforting another. They sat side by side in the waiting room, watching the storm outside. Tasha shared snippets of her life, double shifts, a cheap landlord, the constant choice between medication and electricity. Malik told her about Lila, his little sister, who died of untreated asthma when their mother couldn't afford emergency care. After that, he said, I promised myself I'd fix the system. Tasha went quiet. Nothing else needed to be said. Something had begun between them. Fragile, unspoken, but real. A nurse interrupted the silence. Mr. Jordan, your driver is ready. Malik stood, hesitating. Tasha looked up, wanting to say something, but only managed, thank you. He nodded slightly. Take care of him. He's a fighter. Then he walked through the glass doors and into the rain. The next morning, headlines blared. Black tech billionaire saves poor mother in rainy drama, PR move or real compassion? Tasha stared at her phone, sighing. She knew trouble had only just begun. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed quietly above as Tasha stood outside the pediatric intensive care unit. Her arms were crossed, not in defiance, but to stop the tremble in her fingers. Through the small glass panel on the door, she could see Jalan lying still, a tangle of wires and tubes cradling his tiny body. Machines beeped in quiet rhythm beside him. Sounds that terrified her, yet were strangely comforting now. "He's a strong boy," the nurse said gently. "You got him here just in time." Tasha nodded, managing a tight smile. Her heart hadn't stopped racing since the night before. She barely remembered the drive, the hospital lights, even the man who had helped them, Malik. The name echoed in her thoughts like a stranger she should know, but wasn't sure she deserved to. She sat in the waiting room again, the same plastic chair, her hands wrapped around a cooling cup of tea someone had brought earlier. It tasted of mint and something medicinal. She barely sipped. The automatic doors hissed open. Her head turned instinctively. Malik walked in. He looked different, casual, yet more composed. The tailored coat was gone, replaced with a black sweatshirt and jeans. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes searched the room until they landed on hers. "You're back," she said, standing. He nodded. "I wanted to check on him. And on you, for a moment." They stood in silence, the air between them thick with things unsaid. "He's doing better," she offered. "They say another day or two and I see you, and he should be stable enough to move." "I'm glad you didn't have to come," she added. Softer now. "I know," he said. "But I couldn't stop thinking about that look in your eyes last night. It reminded me of my mother. Same fear, same fire." She didn't reply immediately. Her jaw tightened slightly. "Most people see only the fear. You notice the fire?" "I've seen it before," Malik said, voice calm. "That fire is what kept me alive growing up." They sat across from each other again. The distance between them no longer filled with caution, but something else, recognition. Tasha glanced down at her hands. "Do you always come back for strangers?" "No," Malik said simply. "But you don't feel like a stranger." She blinked. That response was not what she expected, nor what she knew how to answer, so she changed the subject. "What was your sister's name?" His face softened. "Lila. She was 10 when she died. Asthma attack. We lived in Bronzeville back then. Mom rushed her to the ER, but..." He swallowed. "They wouldn't take her. No insurance, no service." Tasha's eyes welled up. She had heard too many stories like that, but hearing it from the mouth of a billionaire, the man whose name was on half the medical tech she'd ever seen, was something else. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "She's the reason I do what I do," Malik continued. "Jordan MedTech started because I wanted no kid to die because of paperwork. No parent to watch their child suffocate in a waiting room." "You're trying to fix something too big," Tasha said. "It's not just broken. It's designed that way." "I know," he said, "but I had to try. Still do." They sat quietly again, the white walls and sterile light pressing in around them. Then Malik shifted forward. "The media is already running with this. Tech billionaire saves struggling single mom." "I'm sorry." "Why are you sorry?" "Because they'll turn your pain into their profit and me into a caricature." Tasha gave a half smile. "I've been judged worse. At least now they call me something other than welfare queen." Malik's expression darkened. "People say that?" "They say it when I use food stamps. When I tell them I work night shifts. When I bring my kid to a clinic instead of a private doctor." He leaned back, exhaling. "No one deserves that." She looked up. "You really believe that, or are you saying it because you've got the money now?" Malik didn't flinch. I remember being the boy who stood in line for free lunch watching other kids laugh at my shoes. Money didn't erase that. It just gave me better shoes. They shared a chuckle, brief, but real. It eased something between them. I don't want pity, Tasha said more firmly. I've made mistakes, but I fight for my son. That's what matters. And that's what I saw last night, he said. Not a victim, a fighter. A nurse interrupted, poking her head in. Mr. Jordan, there's someone from the board on the phone for you. They say it's urgent. Malik stood. Tell them I'll call back. They insist, she said. Tasha could see the shift in his posture, his public face returning. It's fine, she said, rising. Go. You have a company to run. He hesitated, then nodded. I'll be back. Why? Malik paused at the door, then turned. Because no one ever came back when my mother sat alone in a room like this. And then he was gone. Tasha sat back down, heart conflicted. He was a stranger, but something about his presence felt familiar, safe, not because of his money or his name, but because he saw her. Not as a charity case, not as a scandal, just as a mother who needed help. As she turned to look through the glass at her son again, she whispered to herself, maybe not all men walk away. But even as the warmth of that thought lingered, her phone buzzed with a headline notification. Jordan's late-night savior complex, heroism or PR spin. And just like that, reality crept back in. By mid-morning, the hospital waiting room had thinned out, and the overhead announcements had become background noise. Tasha sat by the window, her gaze drifting over the city skyline blurred by steady rain. Jalen was resting, breathing easier, and doctors had begun talking about a potential transfer to a recovery room. But her peace was short-lived. She caught her reflection in the window, tired eyes, smudged eyeliner, and the faint crease of worry that had become permanent. That morning's news headlines still echoed in her mind. She hadn't even opened the article. She didn't need to. She knew how stories like hers were told, filtered through judgment, shaped to entertain, never to understand. A soft knock on the doorframe made her turn. A well-dressed woman stood there with a clipboard and a fixed, polished smile. Miss Williams, the woman asked. Yes, I'm Evelyn Parker. I work with Mr. Jordan's public relations team. May I have a moment? Tasha stiffened but nodded. Evelyn stepped in, glancing around as if evaluating the space. First, let me say we're relieved Jalen is recovering. Mr. Jordan has shown a personal concern for your situation, which speaks volumes about his character. Tasha didn't respond. Something about Evelyn's tone was too rehearsed, too smooth. Evelyn continued. That said, media attention is growing. We want to ensure this story doesn't spiral into something complicated. You understand? I'm sure. Complicated, Tasha echoed. Wary. Yes, Evelyn smiled, lowering her voice. The public can be unpredictable. We'd like to propose a mutual understanding. You stay out of the spotlight, refrain from interviews, and in return, Mr. Jordan will continue supporting your son's care, privately, of course. Tasha blinked. Are you offering me hush money? Not at all, Evelyn replied, tone gentle but firm. We're offering protection for you, your son, and Mr. Jordan. Public narratives can be cruel. We'd rather avoid that. Tasha's chest tightened. So, what happens if I say no? Evelyn's smile never faltered. Then, we cannot guarantee continued support or control over what the press may uncover. And let's be honest, Miss Williams, the media loves a messy story. Anger surged through Tasha. She stood, shoulders squared. You don't know me. You don't get to frame my life like a liability. Evelyn calmly handed her a business card. Think about it. These things are better resolved quietly. As she turned and left, the room felt colder. Later that afternoon, Malik returned. He looked tired, less polished, more human. Tasha didn't greet him with warmth. This time you sent her, she said flatly. His brow furrowed. Who? Evelyn. Your PR cleaner. She came here to silence me. Malik's face shifted, jaw tightening. She what? She offered me a deal. Money, protection, in exchange for disappearing. You know what that feels like? Like being swept under a rug. I didn't authorize that, Malik said, voice low. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, she snapped. Fix it. I will. They stood in tense silence. Tasha crossed her arms. Why are they so afraid of this story, of me? Because vulnerability doesn't sell. They need me to be untouchable. Any hint of personal involvement? They panic. And you? I think they're wrong. His sincerity was disarming. But Tasha wasn't ready to let her guard down again. That night, Jalen's fever broke. The doctors confirmed he was out of danger. Relief washed over Tasha in waves so powerful she had to step outside, away from the monitors and beeping machines just to breathe. She found herself in the hospital garden, an unlikely oasis lit by string lights and the glow of the city. She sat on a cold bench, hands buried in her coat pockets. Malik appeared minutes later. He didn't speak at first, just sat beside her, watching the same skyline she had earlier. I fired her, he said quietly. Tasha turned. Evelyn, he clarified. She acted without my consent. I won't have people around me who treat human lives like liabilities. She studied his face. There was a weariness there she hadn't seen before. A man tired not of wealth or work, but of fighting shadows in polished rooms. Why does this matter to you so much? She asked. You could have walked away after that night. No one would have blamed you. Malik exhaled. Because for a moment I saw myself in him, and I saw my mother in you, and I remembered how much it hurt when no one came back. His voice cracked slightly at the end. Tasha looked away, the weight of that confession pressing against her chest. Thank you, she said softly. Don't thank me. Not yet, he added. I want to help. Not just with Jalen, with your future, whatever that looks like. I don't need saving, she said quickly. I know, he replied. But maybe you deserve support. She hesitated. You don't know me, Malik. Maybe not, he said. But I'd like to. Their eyes met, no promises, no fairy tales, just two people standing in the quiet space between past pain and possible healing. And for the first time in days, Tasha felt like she could exhale. Above them, the storm had finally passed. But far off in the distance, another one was beginning to stir, in boardrooms, in headlines, in whispers too quiet for them to hear just yet. The hospital hallway was unusually quiet that night. Most of the floor's lights had dimmed, leaving only the soft glow from the nurse's station and the flickering monitors that watched over patients like silent guardians. Tasha sat beside Jalen's bed, holding his small hand as he slept peacefully, his breathing steady and free for the first time in days. The room was warm, but her thoughts were cold. Despite the relative calm, unease still clung to her chest. She glanced at her phone. No new messages, no more reporters, at least for now. But the online comments she had accidentally glimpsed earlier, some filled with compassion, others dripping with venom, lingered in her memory. She rubbed her eyes and stood up, slipping out into the corridor. She needed a moment, just a moment, to clear her head. She made her way down to the hospital's small family lounge, a narrow room with a coffee machine that barely worked and a few worn armchairs. The scent of old tea and disinfectant filled the space. She poured herself a cup of tea, the only option left, and sat near the window. Rain traced lines down the glass, though the storm outside had softened. Her reflection looked older than she remembered, tired, hardened. Footsteps echoed softly down the hall. She didn't turn. I figured you'd be here, Malik said. She didn't respond at first. You always walk hospital halls like a ghost. He smiled faintly, setting a cup down beside her. Peppermint. Thought you might need something different. She took it without looking at him, hands wrapping around the warmth. You still keeping tabs on me? I'm checking in. There's a difference. She sighed. So what now? You fired your PR hit woman. Are the wolves off my back? Not exactly, Malik said, pulling a chair beside her. The board's concerned. They think I've gotten emotionally compromised. Tasha raised an eyebrow. Because you helped a sick kid. Because I didn't control the narrative. Evelyn's actions, they were sanctioned, even encouraged. My refusal to distance myself from you makes them nervous. So, what happens next? They'll push for a review, possibly a temporary suspension. Tasha stared into her tea. All because of me. No, Malik said firmly. Because I chose not to play their game. She glanced at him then. You knew what would happen. You helped anyway. He nodded slowly. I did. Silence stretched between them again. Heavy but not uncomfortable. Tasha shifted. You said you wanted to help more. What did you mean? Malik hesitated, then reached into his coat, pulling out a slim folder. I've been working on a new initiative. Quietly, a foundation medical access for single parents, especially women of color. It started as a passion project. Now, I want you to help me shape it. Her eyes widened. Me? I'm not a CEO, Malik. I'm a waitress, a dropout. You're a fighter, he said. And you know what it's like to navigate this system. You have perspective my board never will. I don't need a resume. I need someone real. She stared at the folder but didn't open it. This feels like charity. It's not. It's a collaboration. And if we do it right, we can make real change. Quietly from the inside. She didn't answer. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but the weight of a possibility she had never allowed herself to imagine. Malik leaned back, sensing her hesitation. No pressure, just think about it. I'm not afraid of work, she said. I'm afraid of being someone's symbol again. You wouldn't be. You'd be a partner. She met his gaze. And us? Is this just business? He didn't flinch. I don't know yet, but I know I want to keep seeing you. Not because I feel responsible, because I like the way you speak your truth. Tasha felt heat rise to her cheeks. She took a slow breath. I don't know what any of this is, but I'm not saying no. He smiled. That's more than enough. They sat there, 2 cups of tea cooling between them, the rain a soft lullaby against the windows. After a while, she stood. I should get back to Jalen. I'll walk you back. Jalen stirred, blinking sleepily. When he saw Malik, a smile spread across his face. He missed her. Hey, buddy. Tasha smiled down at her son, her voice barely above a whisper. He remembers you. Malik knelt by the bed. How you feeling, champ? Better. Mommy said you helped. Malik looked up at Tasha. She did all the hard work. Jalen reached out, tiny fingers brushing Malik. You're nice. Can you stay? Tasha's throat tightened. Malik's smile was soft. I'll stay as long as I can. And just like that, the space between strangers became something more. Not yet defined, not yet named, but real. Outside, the rain finally stopped. The following morning, sunlight broke through the hospital windows for the first time in days. A golden warmth touched the edge of Jalen's bed, casting soft shadows across his cheeks. Tasha leaned forward, brushing a curl from his forehead. His breathing was steady. His color had returned. For the first time in what felt like forever, she exhaled without fear. Malik was gone when she woke up, but he had left behind 2 things. A small note back later, let me know if you need anything, and a warm blueberry muffin from the cafe downstairs. Tasha smiled. She didn't know what this was between them, but it was beginning to feel solid. Unexpected, but solid. Still, she knew better than to trust comfort too quickly. Life had trained her for sudden change, and it didn't take long. By noon, the hospital buzzed with whispers. Nurses exchanged looks. One even stopped talking mid-sentence when Tasha passed. At first, she thought it was her imagination until she reached the lobby. A man in a beige blazer held a camera low at his side. Another wore a press badge, pretending to read a pamphlet on prenatal care. When Tasha made eye contact, he looked away too fast. Something was wrong. She pulled out her phone. Notifications flashed across the screen. News articles, tweets, comments. Billionaire Malik Jordan entangled in rescue romance scandal. Insider reveals single mom may have staged hospital plea. Tragedy baiting. Public split over sympathy story. Her hands trembled. She scrolled. Each headline worse than the last. They'd found old photos, one she never consented to be shared, of her working double shifts, leaving Jalen at a sitter's. A former co-worker from the diner had given an anonymous quote. She always said she'd find a rich guy to save her. It was lies, but lies that spread faster than truth. She nearly dropped the phone when it rang. Malik's name lit up the screen. She hesitated, then answered. Tasha, he said, voice tight. I just saw. I know, she interrupted. They're circling me like vultures. I'm heading back now. Stay where you are. She ended the call before he could say more. She didn't want comfort. She wanted this to stop. 30 minutes later, Malik appeared in the hospital lobby, jaw set, eyes burning. He moved through the reporters like a man on a mission, ignoring their questions, brushing off the cameras. He found Tasha near the elevators. Come with me, he said. They found a small consultation room empty, quiet. He closed the door behind them. I'm sorry, he began. Don't, Tasha said, holding up a hand. Don't apologize again. He sighed. This was supposed to be private. I tried to keep it clean. You really thought you could save a single mom and not become the headline? I thought I could protect you. Her eyes met his, hard. You can't. Not from this. You live in a world of press releases and image control. I live in one where every mistake follows me forever. They won't find anything real, he said. There's no scandal. You've done nothing wrong. That won't matter, she snapped. They already decided who I am. A gold digger, a liar, a woman using her sick kid to land a rich man. Malik paced. I'll put out a statement. On record, I'll clear your name. That'll only make it worse, she said. They'll think it's damage control. He stopped. Then what do you want me to do? I don't know, she whispered. I just want this to stop. They stood in silence. Then she added, softer, I can't lose my job over this, Malik. I'm already walking a tightrope. I'll take care of it. No more favors, Tasha. She stepped back. You said you wanted to help. Then help by stepping back. Let me fight this my way. His expression tightened. I don't want to abandon you. You're not. But right now, I need space. I need to think. She left the room before he could argue. Back upstairs, she found Jalen sitting up, playing with a plastic toy car. He grinned when he saw her. The simplicity of that smile grounded her. Everything else, headlines, assumptions, whispers, faded for a moment, but in the corridor, a familiar voice rang out. Tasha, she turned. Janet, a fellow waitress from the diner, stood there holding a balloon bouquet. I heard about Jalen, Janet said. Wanted to bring something. Tasha blinked. You didn't have to. And Janet added, lowering her voice, I heard about the articles. I just wanted to say I know they're full of it. Tasha felt her throat tighten. Thanks. Janet leaned in. But you should know Carl, our manager, he's freaking out. He said the press called the diner. He's worried you'll bring attention. Of course, Tasha nodded slowly. Of course it would come to that. I'll talk to him. Janet offered a sympathetic look. For what it's worth, I think what you're doing is brave. Loving your son that much? Fighting for him? That's not scandalous. That's real. That night, Tasha didn't answer Malik's texts. She sat beside Jalan as he fell asleep, the soft hum of machines surrounding them. She watched his chest rise and fall, the curve of his lashes, the peace on his face. He deserved better than this circus. She picked up the folder Malik had left days ago, foundation proposal. Her name wasn't printed anywhere, but it was written between the lines. She read it slowly, and something inside her shifted. Not trust, not yet, but curiosity, maybe even possibility. Outside, the city glittered like a million watchful eyes. And somewhere in that darkness, truth waited to rise louder than gossip, stronger than shame. But not tonight. Tonight, she held her son's hand and whispered, "We'll get through this, one breath at a time." 2 days had passed since the scandal erupted. Though the headlines had started to cool, the damage lingered in whispers and wary glances. Jalan was moved to a recovery room with a window and a cheerful mural of cartoon animals. But Tasha couldn't shake the feeling of being watched from the media, from the hospital staff, and from the very city that had once ignored her. It was just afternoon when a knock echoed at the door. Tasha turned from the window. A woman stood there, statuesque, composed, wrapped in a crimson power suit and black heels that clicked with every step. Her eyes were sharp, her posture commanding. "Miss Williams," she said. Tasha nodded slowly. "Who are you?" "I'm Evelyn. We've met briefly." Tasha's stomach turned. "You're the PR lady." "I prefer Director of Strategic Communications." Tasha crossed her arms. "What do you want?" Evelyn stepped into the room, glancing at the sleeping boy before turning back to Tasha. "I'm here off the record. Not for Jordan Medtech. Not today." "Then why are you here?" "Because I need you to understand the stakes." Tasha stiffened. Evelyn continued, her voice smooth. "Malik's board is looking for an excuse to sideline him permanently. His recent behavior has given them ammunition, refusing to disengage from a public incident, contradicting our media strategy, and letting personal feelings interfere with the brand." Tasha scoffed. "You mean helping a sick kid?" Evelyn's eyes didn't flinch. "That's not how it's being framed. They're calling it reckless, uncontrolled, and you, Miss Williams, are a liability they didn't account for." "I'm a mother, not a liability." "You're both," Evelyn said without blinking. "You're sympathetic, yes, but also unpredictable. You don't follow media cues. You won't play the narrative we build. You've become a symbol, the kind no one can control." Tasha stared at her. "So what? You're here to convince me to disappear again?" Evelyn set a folder on the nightstand. "I'm here to offer you a choice. Take this settlement. It's generous, your son's medical bills, a year of support, and relocation assistance. In return, you agree to step out of Malik's orbit. Quietly, permanently." Tasha felt her hands curl into fists. Evelyn tilted her head. "He's a good man. But he won't survive another scandal. If you really care about him, you'll walk away before the board forces him out." "You think I'm here for him?" "I think you've become more than you realize. And people like you don't get to stay in the center of a billionaire's life without cost." Tasha took a step forward. "Let me be very clear. I didn't ask for Malik Jordan to walk into my life. I didn't scheme. I didn't fake anything. My son nearly died. I was desperate. That's not manipulation. That's survival." Evelyn didn't blink. Survival doesn't always make for good optics. Tasha picked up the folder and threw it into the trash. "Get out." Evelyn looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "You just made a very complicated choice." "Maybe," Tasha said, "but at least it's mine." Evelyn left, her heels echoing like a gavel down a courtroom hallway. Later that night, Malik returned to the hospital. Tasha met him in the hallway away from Jalan's room. She didn't smile. She came. I know, Malik replied. She told me she was going. I told her not to. You didn't stop her. I tried, but the board, no, Tasha cut in. We're not doing this. I don't want to hear about your board or your brand or your optics. He exhaled. Tasha, she offered me money to walk away from you to make it easier for them to erase this mess. But I'm not a mistake, and I'm not a chapter you get to close. I don't see you that way, Malik said firmly. Maybe not now, she said, but when this gets worse, and it will, I need to know you won't look at me like a burden. His eyes were steady. You're not a burden. You're the most honest thing in my life right now. She looked at him, searching for cracks, for weakness, for anything that hinted at retreat. All she found was resolve. I didn't take the deal, she said. I didn't expect you to. Silence stretched. Malik, she said, voice softer. I'm scared. Not just about the media, about all of it, what this means, what it could become. So am I, he replied. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. That truth lingered between them, fragile and loud. When Tasha returned to Jalan's room, he was awake, hugging his stuffed bear. Mommy, he whispered. I had a dream. She sat beside him. What about? The man with the nice voice was my daddy. Her breath caught. She smiled, stroking his hair. That's a nice dream, Jalan. He yawned. Do you think dreams come true? Tasha kissed his forehead. Sometimes, baby. Sometimes they do. As the city shimmered beyond the window, Tasha knew the storm hadn't passed. But maybe, just maybe, she wasn't facing it alone anymore. The hum of a ceiling fan echoed softly as Tasha stepped into the familiar warmth of Rosie's diner. The scent of frying bacon and fresh coffee wrapped around her like a quilt. Her apron was folded neatly in her tote bag, though her feet were still sore from pacing the hospital halls. Something in her posture was steadier, stronger. It had been 3 days since she turned down Evelyn's offer. 2, since Malik told her he didn't care what the board thought, and 1 since Jalan was discharged with a bottle of antibiotics and a list of follow-ups. Life hadn't gone back to normal, but it had started moving forward. The bell over the door jingled behind her. Carl, the diner manager, was already at the counter wiping the same patch of formica he always did when anxious. Hey Carl, Tasha said, voice cautious. He looked up, lips tight. Tasha, back already? I called ahead, she replied, sitting at one of the stools. Said I'd be back today. He nodded slowly. I got your message. Listen, there's been a lot of noise. News vans parked outside last week. We lost some regulars. I'm sorry, she said. That wasn't my doing, Carl. I know. I do, he said, but Rosie's lives on reputation. This isn't the kind of place that handles scandal well. Tasha's hands folded in her lap. So, you want me gone? No, Carl said, surprising her. I want it quiet. No reporters, no statements, just work. Can you do that? She met his gaze. I've been doing that my whole life. He nodded. Then you're still on the schedule. Relief hit her chest like a warm breeze. Thank you. He handed her a new apron. We've got 2 booths waiting. You up for it? She smiled faintly. Always. As she walked toward the tables, she caught her reflection in the diner's long mirror. Something in her eyes was different. Still tired, but less beaten. That afternoon, Malik showed up at booth 3, the one with the squeaky seat and the view of the corner stoplight. He wore jeans and a sweatshirt again, but Tasha noticed the glances he got from 2 customers at the counter. His face was too famous now, too known. She brought him coffee and slid into the opposite seat. You didn't have to come, she said. I wanted to. You're going to cause a stir. Let them stir. She shook her head, amused.